Hola y muy buenos días. Hi, everybody. Good morning. We're going to get started with taking a look at our Chapter 4 vocab today. We're starting with Chapter 4a. That's the first part of Chapter 4. And we're going to be looking at this question. ¿A dónde vas? ¿A dónde vas? That means, where are you going? All right, and because we're talking about where you're going, we need to know a special verb. And that verb is ir. Ir. You'll hear me using it all the time during this screencast, and so I wanted to define it up front for you. So if you take a look in the on the right side of your vocab list that's attached to the assignment where you found this screencast, you'll see a box with the for the conjugations of ir. So first write ir, next to ir write to go. Ir means to go, and then you'll have that 2x3 grid. And the forms of ir are yo, voy, V-O-Y, yo voy, tú vas, él, ella, usted va, nosotros vamos, vosotros vais, y ellos, ellas, and ustedes van. All right, so you'll need that, of course, just in general, right? I am sure you can think about it in English. You use the term to go, or I go, you go, we go, all the time. And so it's important to note it in Spanish as well. Let's move on. The other thing to note, if you look at the screen, if you look at the vocab list, you'll notice a bunch of terms highlighted in yellow and some terms highlighted in green. Today, we're working on the yellow terms, so I'll expect you to have definitions written next to all of the yellow terms, as well as anything else that I instruct you to do during this screencast. So please pay careful attention to that, because I will be looking for all of those yellow terms to be filled out and all the special instructions that I give you to be completed. All right, let's go. Okay, so this first term is la biblioteca, la biblioteca. From now on, I'm just going to start speaking in some Spanish to start each slide, and I'd ask that each time I say the term, you repeat after me. So this one is la biblioteca. This means the library. Yo voy a la biblioteca para estudiar. I go to the library to study. El café, el café. This means the cafe, the cafe. All right, you also have learned that el café means the coffee. Entonces, so you could say, voy al café para beber café. I go to the cafe to drink coffee. El café. El campo. El campo. This means the countryside. The countryside. El campo. The countryside. Mi familia y yo vamos al campo para ir de camping. My family and I go to the countryside to go camping. El campo. La casa, la casa. Ahora yo trabajo en casa. Right now, I'm working at home. La casa, the home or the house. El centro comercial, el centro comercial. This is the mall, the mall. Yo voy al centro comercial para ir de compras. I go to the mall to go shopping. Notice just here the one M in comercial. There are not two M's. El cine, I bet this picture gave it away for you. This is the movie theater, or the cinema, if you're fancy, the movie theater. Voy al cine para ver una película. I go to the movie theater to watch a movie. El gimnasio, el gimnasio. All right, so this means the gym, and it can mean both this kind of gym where you would go to like lift weights and use those machines, or it can mean this thing that we have like at LaSalle where basketball and volleyball games are played, okay? El gimnasio, el gimnasio. Voy al gimnasio para levantar pesas. I go to the gym to lift weights, all right? Just one thing to notice, this is not a gym, it's a gimnasio, gimnasio. La iglesia, la iglesia. This is the church, la iglesia. Voy a la iglesia para orar. Voy a la iglesia para orar means I go to church to pray. All right, I'm going to add this word to your list. So add this on the slide, add this to your vocab list. Find a spot to add it somewhere, maybe right next to la iglesia, maybe in a blank spot down at the bottom or on the side. Orar means to pray. Okay, to pray. So voy a la iglesia para orar means to pray. I go to church to pray. La mezquita, la mezquita. La mezquita means the mosque, the mosque. Mosque is spelled M-O-S-Q-U-E, and this is where Muslims go to pray. La mezquita, la mezquita. La mezquita means the mosque, the mosque. Mosque is spelled M-O-S-Q-U-E, and this is where Muslims go to pray. La mezquita, la mezquita. La mezquita means the mosque, the mosque. Mosque is spelled M-O-S-Q-U-E, and this is where Muslims go to pray. Next we have las montañas. Las montañas. Yo voy a las montañas para esquiar. I go to the mountains to ski. Las montañas. El parque. El parque. Yo voy al parque para caminar y correr. I go to the park to walk and to run. El parque is the park. La piscina. La piscina. En el verano, yo nado en la piscina. In summer, I swim in the pool. La piscina is the pool. La playa. La playa. La playa means the beach. The beach. Cuando estoy en las vacaciones, voy a la playa. When I'm on vacation, I go to the beach. La playa. El restaurante. El restaurante. This is the restaurant. The restaurant. The spelling is pretty similar in English. The pronunciation is a little bit different. People tend to mess up the spelling, so just note this one. El restaurante. Mi familia y yo vamos al restaurante para cenar. My family and I go to the restaurant to have dinner. La sinagoga. La sinagoga. Los judíos van a la sinagoga para orar. La sinagoga means the synagogue. All right, I'll write this up here because some of you may not know how to spell this word in English. S-Y-N-A-G-O-G-U-E. Synagogue. This is where Jews go to pray. The synagogue is la sinagoga. El templo. El templo. Los mormones van al templo para orar y hacer unas rituales religiosas. All right, so los mormones van al templo para orar. So el templo means the temple, and I was saying that, like, for example, Mormons go to the temple to pray and do other special rituals. So el templo. This is one example of what a temple looks like. El trabajo. El trabajo. This means the job or the work. The job or the work. Okay? Good. Yeah. So let's pause here. Take a look back at the list on the vocab list. Look at any of those places, and I want you to put an arrow on the left side of the list pointing to the place that's your favorite place to go. It doesn't matter which one, it's just your favorite. Just to indicate it with a little arrow on the left side. All right, our next set of terms under las actividades is ir de compras. Ir de compras means to go shopping. Ir de pesca means to go fishing. Ir de camping means to go camping. Ir de camping. Just notice that accent mark over the A. Ir de camping. Ver una película. Ver una película means to see a movie or to watch a movie. All right, this is both something you could do at home and something you could do al cine. All right, ver una película. Now, the next one, I don't have a slide for some reason, and I don't have time to make one this morning as I'm making this. All right, so levantar pesas. Levantar pesas is the next term on your vocab list. Levantar pesas means to lift weights. So imagine somebody really picking up a barbell, really struggling to lift it up. Levantar pesas. Levantar pesas. So make sure you fill that in on your vocab list. Okay, next we have la lección de piano. La lección de piano. La lección de piano is the piano lesson. I know this isn't really a place, properly speaking, but it is someplace people often talk about going. Right? I go to my piano lesson. Voy a la lección de piano. Me quedo en casa. Me quedo en casa. This is a whole phrase, a whole sentence. Me quedo en casa means I stay home. Now notice on the vocab list, I've underlined en casa. En casa. This is maybe a little bit different than what your English brain might tell you should write, but this is correct in Spanish. Me quedo en casa means I stay home, or I stay at home, even though it says en casa, which means in the house or in home, all right? So me quedo en casa means I stay home or I stay at home. All right, our next yellow term is down at the bottom of that column, para and an infinitive. Para, when you add para in front of an infinitive, so just to borrow one that we've been working with, nadar, for instance, this means in order to swim, for instance, okay? You don't have to write this in as part of the definition, but para and an infinitive gives us this phrase, in order to, in order to. A lot of times we will just say to in English, but you'll also see para translated as in order to. So, for example, voy a la biblioteca para estudiar. I go to the library in order to study, right? We would often say just to study, but strictly speaking, this is in order to study. So next, up toward the top of the second column, we've got ir a lugar. Ir a lugar. This is a phrase, a construction that means to go to. Voy, that's a form of ir, a la biblioteca para estudiar. To continue that example, voy a la biblioteca. So you use ir, a, and an infinitive, not infinitive, a place to talk about going somewhere. All right, and this is important. The next two slides are important to understand this term as well. So al means to the when we're talking about a masculine place. Okay, so I would say al gimnasio. Okay, al gimnasio. Yo voy. I keep writing y as the beginning of that word. Voy al gimnasio. Yo voy al gimnasio means I'm going to the gym. But if the place is feminine, you'll say a la. So voy a la playa. Okay, so al in the last slide is a little bit like if we smashed a and l together, we get al, and a la is just a and then the feminine definite article. Okay, a donde means to where. All right, so if I was asking you, where are you going? I actually have to say not just where, which would be the word donde, but I have to say a donde. To where are you going? So a donde means to where. To where. Which, properly speaking, we should probably ask in English, but we don't. All right, so a donde vas means where are you going. A donde just means to where. One answer you might give to that question, a donde vas, would be a casa, home, right? ¿A dónde vas? A casa, I'm going home. Los fines de semana means the weekends or on the weekends. So you could start a sentence by saying, los fines de semana yo voy de pesca. Los fines de semana yo voy de pesca. On the weekends, I go fishing. But in Spanish, you just have to say los fines de semana. You don't have to say en los fines de semana. You just have to say los fines de semana. So los fines de semana means the weekends, but it can also mean on the weekends when you use it in a certain way. We'll practice that skill. All right, so then los lunes, los martes, etc. mean on Mondays, on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays, etc., right? So if you just say los and then a day of the week, you will be talking about what you do on those days. So, for example, los miércoles no tenemos clases vivas, right? So on Wednesdays, we don't have live classes. El tiempo libre means the free time. So what do you do in your free time? ¿Qué haces en el tiempo libre? All right, down a little bit on that column, we have con quién. Con quién. This means with whom. With whom, right? So if I ask you, con quién vas a la playa? Con quién vas a la playa? That means who are you going to the beach with? One answer could be con mis amigos. Voy a la playa con mis amigos. With my friends. Maybe if I was talking about you and not asking you the question, I could say con tus amigos, with your friends. All right, watch this one. Solo, sola means alone, right? Con quién vas? Voy solo, right? Just make sure you match that. If you're a man, you say o. If you're a woman, you say a. But solo for men, sola for women. All right, so just pay close attention to that. Next, up on the top right of this, on the third column, top of that third column, we have cuando, which means when. Cuando vas al trabajo? When are you going to work? Cuando vas al trabajo? When. Cuando is when. Después means afterwards. So you'd often use this term at the beginning of the sentence, right? So you're telling a story, and then you say, después fui a la biblioteca para estudiar. So after that, I went to the library to study. Después de means after. Okay, I know this is a subtle difference, but después means afterward. Después de means after. Después de las clases, tengo que hacer la tarea. After class, I have to do the homework. All right, so this next one is de donde eres. De donde eres. This means where are you from? De donde eres. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to find a spot, maybe right above ear or just to the left of this or just above más palabras importantes. Find a spot where you can write out this phrase and answer this question. So imagine I asked you, ¿de dónde eres? You're going to say, soy de, and then tell me where you're from. Quizás, maybe you'll say you're from Portland. Maybe you'll say you're from Oregon. Maybe you'll say you're from the US. If you wanted to say you're from the United States, soy de los or los Estados Unidos. But if you were writing it out, you might say los That's a fun one because estados is plural, starts with an E, so we write two E's, and unidos is also plural, so we write two U's. You might see that sometimes, or los Estados Unidos, but you can also write whatever is true for you or whatever you most connect with. So maybe don't say los Estados Unidos, even if that's true. Come up with something unique, something that's true for you. Say what city, town, state, or country you are from. De donde eres, soy de blank. Find a spot to write that on your sheet. De means of, from, or about. All right, so soy de los Estados Unidos means I'm from the United States. Es el libro de Julio. That's Julio's book. That's the book of Julio, if you will. Or hablo de las cosas importantes. I'm talking about important stuff, de cosas importantes. So de can mean of, from, or about. Second to last slide, generalmente. Generalmente. Generalmente means generally. So, generalmente los martes yo voy al centro comercial para ir de compras. On Tuesdays, I generally go to the mall to shop. That's not true, but that's a sentence. Generalmente means generally. Last thing, no me digas. No me digas. It's an expression of kind of disbelief. It means you don't say or no way, right? So if somebody gives you incredibly good news, you might say no me digas. If somebody gives you awful news, you might say no me digas. If you get an A on your essay or your quiz, you might say no me digas, right? Or if you get an F on your test, you might say no me digas. All right. So no me digas. It's an expression of disbelief. All right, this actually concludes our list. You should have every yellow term filled out here, and you should have ear filled out. You should have added the word orar to the slide for la iglesia. You should have one of those lugares on the top left-hand side indicated with an arrow, your favorite place. You should have added levantar pesas because we didn't have a slide for that. And then you should have put where you're from somewhere on the slide, on this handout. And then I have one last task for you. I want you to go find a slide. I want you to go find a picture of your favorite restaurant. It could be a fast food place or a fancy restaurant, whatever. Find a picture of it and put it in the top right-hand corner of this vocab sheet. I'm just trying to check to make sure you're listening, make sure you're paying attention, make sure you're going all the way through the screencast. So put a picture of your favorite restaurant and insert it in this PDF, and then submit that with all those extra steps I talked about. All right? Pues, este es tu listo de vocabulario y nos vemos el viernes. Nos vemos el viernes. Ok, hasta luego, hasta viernes, nos vemos.